2024 could be really interesting for Nintendo. Today we're going to try to predict everything we could see potentially from Nintendo in 2024. This video will be divided into 3 parts. The first part will be more just things we can they'll be safer bets. The second part of the video will be predictions that could go both ways. And then the third part of the video will be basically predictions that are straight from the land of fairies and rainbows. But it's always fun to speculate in my opinion. Starting off, let's look at the safe predictions. I think it's pretty safe to say we'll probably be getting 3 Nintendo Directs and 2 Indie Directs. That's typically what they go for. The first one will be in around February, the second one will be around June, and most likely the third one will be in September. And in these Directs, I do think we will be getting some shadow drops. The last 3 Directs, we had a shadow drop. The one in February, we had Metroid Prime Remastered. And then on the June Direct, we had Pikmin 1+2 Shadow Drop. And in the September Direct, we had the Shadow Drop of F-Zero 99, which, I feel like it's probably not as big as the first 2, but it's still a Shadow Drop nonetheless. Next up, I really think we're going to be getting a Pokemon game. We get one literally every year, so I think that's a very safe prediction. If I had to be a bit more specific, I think we could potentially see a Pokemon Let's Go game. So Pokemon Let's Go Johto, I'll call it for now. That was the first Pokemon game, if I remember correctly, that we got for Switch, so I wouldn't be surprised if on next-gen hardware, maybe. It might be the first thing we get there again as well. Also, the Pokemon Legends game really sold well. People really enjoyed it. I think it's not a far stretch to believe that maybe we'll get another one of those. Maybe Pokemon Legends Unova, Kyurem, whatever you want to call it. I think those are very likely games we could potentially have. But basically, I just don't think we're getting a new mainline Pokemon game in terms of like Gen 10. And of course, as I previously just mentioned, I think we'll be getting the Switch 2, Super Switch, whatever they're gonna call it. I think we will be seeing an announcement, probably a little bit after the first Direct of the year. I don't think they'll be announcing it, but I do think it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could maybe tease another Direct or another announcement at a later date. So to stay tuned, to start to hype up people. I think that's most likely gonna happen, but who knows? We'll see. But if we do see this next-gen hardware, what do you think the big feature will be? Like, the Wii U was the tablet, the Wii was the motion control, the Switch was the hybrid nature. What do you think the big feature of the next console will be? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, I think this is a safe prediction, and I could totally be wrong, but I really do think this is the year we will finally be seeing Metroid Prime 4. It's been eons since they even restarted. I think we're going to be hearing from this game this year. I'm like 90% sure. Not only that, I do think it was probably going to be a cross-gen game, kind of how Breath of the Wild was with the Wii U. It just took so long to come out, they just, released it on both hardware. And I also think a safe bet would be that Nintendo Switch Online would be getting a brand new game to their retro services. I think that's a very safe bet, and I'm really hoping for Smash 64. I understand there's Smash Ultimate. I'm not a big fan of Smash Ultimate, actually. And I know Smash 64 isn't the best one in the series. I do admit that myself, but I have such a soft spot for it because I played it so much growing up. But yeah, I just really hope to see that game someday in the NSO service. Next up, we have the category of could go both ways. Not sure. It could happen, and I wouldn't be surprised, but also if it doesn't happen, I also wouldn't be surprised. If we do get a new system, I do think we probably will be seeing a brand new IP. Kind of how Splatoon was synonymous with the Wii U. I feel like ARMS is just on the Switch, but I feel like it's also synonymous with the Switch just because it was there at the release. I think maybe we could see something like that, especially if we're going to be getting that new console, like I said. I have obviously no idea what this new IP could be. I just really feel like we could be seeing a new IP for Nintendo. Next up is the long-rumored Metroid Prime 2+3. I do think we might see that potentially, actually maybe even in the first Direct of the year, especially if they are going to be releasing Metroid Prime 4. I do think they will want to get these games out. I heard that apparently it's not going to be getting the same treatment as Metroid Prime Remastered, but even just ports as it is, as a double pack, I think that could probably be very beneficial for Metroid Prime 4 if people have a chance to, play the first 3 before playing 4. I also do think that we might be able to see a brand new Donkey Kong game. Japan's Universal Studios Park is getting a Donkey Kong expansion, and I know Donkey Kong also played a somewhat major enough role in the Super Mario movie, so I really do think that, they will be trying to bank off of that, trying to gain more popularity for that character, for both the park to be more successful, to pull more people in because people will feel that attachment to the character, and also to capitalize on how popular the Mario movie was. Next up in the could go both ways section, I do think we might see a brand new Fire Emblem game, specifically a remake. I don't know if they'll call it Echoes, kind of like Shadows of Valentia, but I do think it's going to be the Genealogy of the Holy Wars remake. It's been long rumored to be happening, and also they've kind of been going chronologically with these remakes, and we're up at 4, so I do think that could be a Fire Emblem game we could be possibly seeing this year, or next year. No, this year. This is posted on New Year's Eve. No, on New Year's Day. This is posted on New Year's Day. Happy New Year's, by the way. Circling back to that new hardware, I know it's also been rumored that a new 3D Mario game could be releasing for the system. I do think, yeah, it would make sense. I almost feel like they might hold off. I feel like they're either going to have a new Mario Kart game or a new Mario 3D game. It's one or the other. Obviously, the rumors are pointing to the 3D Mario. I'd probably say that one. But I do think the year after we'd probably see a Mario Kart, for sure. Also, Nintendo has already came out and said that they really do want to see new Zelda games released every year. So if that's the case, we need a Zelda game. We do know that Tears of the Kingdom will not be getting DLC, so that's off of the table. So I do think that long-rumored Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD double pack might be able to release finally. Yeah, because that would be an easy port to just drop. Or even, I also wouldn't be surprised if it might just be one. They release it, and then they can save the other one for later down the line. The next thing I have marked on my list is something I already mentioned about when exactly we could see the announcement for the next gen hardware. I really do believe that depending on when they want to release the system, it will dictate which direct they might tease it in. At the end of the February direct, they might mention that in a month from now, they'll announce what the system is, and then the release would be a few months after. Or they might tease it in the June direct for it to be released close to the end of September, beginning of October-ish maybe. So depending on when they want to release it, I think that will dictate which direct they might tease it in. I know they've never really announced new hardware per se. They announced console variations, like the Zelda variation of the Switch, for example. They showed that off in a direct, but never true next-gen hardware. However, they have been using directs more to announce other projects they've been working on, like the voice actors for the characters for the Super Mario Bros. Movie in a direct. They announced the theme parks as well, and they also just recently announced the Nintendo Museum in Tokyo. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it's completely out of the realm of possibilities, but time will tell, I guess. A game we also might be able to see is another long-rumored game, and it's a remaster of Kid Icarus Uprising, a game that a lot of people have been clamoring for, if I have to be honest. Even though it did release for the 3DS, it wasn't really a proper system for it. It wasn't a good system for it. The controls were so off. So I personally never played the game. I do have it, and I do think I want to try. But if I would know that a remaster is coming up, I definitely hold off to play it then, when we'd actually have 2 proper joysticks to play with. And my last could go both ways prediction is I think we could potentially see a lot of third-party games making the jump over to Nintendo's new hardware. A lot of games weren't able to come because the Switch just plain out wasn't powerful enough. But if the Switch is going to be as powerful, or the second Switch, or Switch 2, or Super Switch, whatever we want to call it, depending on how powerful it is, I do think a lot of third-party consoles might hop in, but I do think this will be more of a trend for 2025 if the console does release this year. And now we go to the land of fairies and rainbows. These predictions I think are more fun, things I'd like to see, and who knows, maybe they'll happen eventually. But but at the moment, I don't think they're realistic for 2024. Potentially, maybe, we could see a new 2D Zelda game. I think this is probably the most realistic of the Land of Fairies and Rainbows predictions. I don't know, it's been a really hot minute since the last 2D Zelda game. Maybe we might see it, who knows, but I don't think we're likely to see it. Next up is the Xenoblade Warriors game. A lot of people have been talking about this game. I don't think there's an actual proper rumors pointing towards this happening, but I do think it is a good concept of a game, and I love the Xenoblade games, so yeah, I wouldn't be upset if this actually were to happen. Now, if I could be greedy for a moment, this is a third-party game, but I really hope and wish and pray and all the other things. I really want Space Channel 5 Part 1 and 2 to come to Switch so bad. There's no reason for it to not be able to come. They're literally, like, it's a Dreamcast game and a PS2 game. They can properly run on Switch. I really hope we get to see that happen. Another thing that might have a possibility of happening is a physical release of F-Zero 99. Now, I don't think there's a high possibility, but they have been dropping new game modes and stuff, and I think this game is actually quite popular. Popular enough. I don't think your grandma's gonna say, hey, have you been playing F-Zero 99? But I do think it's been doing quite well. I would love for this game to have a physical copy for one reason. This physical copy would require one small change. It has to be able to be played offline, so just against CPUs. And I think if there is a 99 game to be done physically, I think it is this one. Some other people did talk about it, but yeah, I think it would be really cool. I would definitely buy that if it were to happen. Except the only thing is I know they'd make it so limited. Like, Nintendo would probably print so little copies of this game, it's not even going to be funny, but I'm just hoping this happens eventually, but I know for sure it probably won't happen in 2024. Next is, it's been a really long time since we've had Rhythm Heaven just make any appearance at all. I think the last one was on the 3DS, so there's not been any on the Switch, and the Switch is getting quite old at this point, so I really hope we get to see Rhythm Heaven again. I've never played a game before, mostly because I didn't know what it was. Now I know what it is, and I love rhythm games, so I'm really hoping we get to see it make a return on either this Switch or whatever comes next. Another game I hope we get to see again, because this one has, the last time we've seen this game was on the Wii, and that's Punch-Out! Punch-Out! I think it's due for a revamp, I guess, or a reboot, I guess you could say, but I really hope we get to see Punch-Out! Again someday. Yeah. And I saved a really good prediction that I think will be happening eventually. This year, maybe not, but I do think we will be seeing this. I'm like 80% confident on this. So everybody said during 3D All-Stars that Super Mario Galaxy 2 was missing from the pack. I don't think it made sense to put 4 games, but I do think that now that 3D All-Stars is out of the way, there's no way to buy Super Mario Galaxy. I do think eventually they might take Super Mario Galaxy and bundle it with Super Mario Galaxy 2 and maybe add just a little bit of maybe just a little expansion to the game itself. Maybe they just add a level or something and release that pack. I really feel like that's gonna happen someday. You can't convince me otherwise, because a lot of people love Galaxy. I mean, they love 64 as well, and Sunshine, but I really feel like Galaxy really has, I mean, it's one of Nintendo's best games ever, so I really do think that someday we might see that double pack and possible, who knows, extra level or something. But yeah, so that's all I have for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I love talking about these just speculation type videos. I just love speculating about Nintendo. So let me know down in the comments what you think Nintendo will be doing next year, and if you made it all the way here, hopefully it's worth liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate that. And if you did like this video, please try checking out this one right here. And until next time, 話了。